Hello everyone and welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight for our latest webinar. My name is Jack Faulkner. I'm the Manager of Communications at ISC, the Integrity Systems Company, and I'll be your facilitator this evening. So on behalf of the ISC team, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your evening to be here with us tonight. This is the second of 3 webinars that's going to take a deep dive into various modules of the Livestock Production Assurance program. More than 250 producers and industry reps from across Australia joined us on Monday evening for the first in the series, which focused on animal welfare. So let's see if we can break that record tonight. This evening, we're going to continue the series by looking at livestock transactions and movements, which sit at the heart of Australia's traceability system, enabling animals to be tracked through life from property of birth through to processing. For producers, getting this right is essential for LPA compliance, accurate NLIS records, and for the ability to respond quickly and confidently in the event of a biosecurity or food safety issue. This webinar has been designed to give you practical clarity on your responsibilities and to help you avoid common mistakes in order to maintain trust in the integrity system of the Australian red meat supply chain. Now I'm going to start by introducing the ISC team who are here tonight. Your presenter this evening is going to be Elizabeth Bradley. She's ISC's Manager of Policy Quality, who will be taking us all through the Livestock Production Assurance program, or at least the livestock movements aspect of it. We also have several other members of the ISC team in the background, many of whom are familiar faces to you. We're joined by Natasha Teddy. She's the Group Manager of ISC Operations. Xander Bennett's here from the Communications team. And we have Quality and Compliance Officer Kaylin Pugh and ISC Operations Analyst George Basher. The team are going to be busy in the background answering all of your questions. Now, thank you for those of you who sent questions in advance. We really appreciate them. For those of you who haven't yet but want to take the opportunity tonight, I'm just going to run through how to do that. If you move your cursor to the bottom of the screen, you'll see that there's a Q&A button, or if you're on an iPad or another device, it may be at the top. Just click and tap on that and then type your questions in. And the team during this evening will be answering them. So just keep an eye out on the chat and you'll be able to see them as they go through. Just a reminder, we're looking for questions, not statements. So if we keep them to something that you're asking on behalf of everyone, that'd be great. If we don't get to your question tonight, don't worry, we'll answer it offline and include in the Q&A transcript that will be circulating later this week or early next. This session is being recorded, and we're also going to circulate a link to a video at the same time so that you'll be able to rewatch it or share it with anyone who wasn't able to make it. We'll also add any related resources. Now, in a moment, I'm going to hand over to Elizabeth and she's going to take us through, but I'm going to leave you with a quick fun fact that was given today and I thought it was worth sharing. The first known livestock movement in Australia seems to have been at the first fleet. When the fleet arrived, it contained 2 bulls and 5 cows who promptly escaped and wandered off into what was then the colony. They went on to become the famous wild cattle of the cow pastures and were discovered years later by settlers near what is now the suburb of Camden. And for those of you from out this way, you'll now know why there's a road out there called Cow Pasture Road, named after them. The herd had grown to dozens by this stage and had been roaming quite freely for all these years until I first spotted in 1795. So it appears that we've had livestock movements here for as long as Western history records. And with that out of the way, I'm going to now hand over to Elizabeth. Please enjoy your evening. I'm sure you'll find it informative. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack, and hi, everyone. Welcome tonight. So I am Elizabeth. I will be running you through tonight's content. Just waiting for my slides to catch up with me. But tonight we are going to be talking around, firstly, a little bit about preparing livestock for dispatch and before we jump into livestock transactions and movements. But we just wanted to play this little video that kind of just summarises and explains it really nicely. And we've got a few videos throughout the night tonight as well, just to break up me talking and having to listen to the same person. So I'll just hit play on this one for you.
Through the Livestock Production Assurance Program, Australia's red meat producers show that their on-farm practices meet comprehensive national standards. So what does the livestock transactions and movements requirement mean for producers? Producers are responsible for upholding traceability requirements and supplying accurate information every time livestock are moved. As a livestock producer, you must be able to meet traceability requirements. That becomes critical when a food safety issue or disease outbreak occurs. An LPA eNVD is an essential part of our traceability system. For livestock coming onto your property, make sure you get an NVD from the vendor and complete the NLIS livestock movement within 2 days. For livestock leaving your property, make sure they are NLIS identified and complete an NVD using your records. That can all be done electronically using eNVD or using the old paper NVDs. For more information, go to integritysystems.com.au.
There we go. So just before we jump into the content, I'll just give you a little bit of an overview. So the Livestock Production Assurance Program, or LPA for short, we do love acronyms, so I'll try to explain them as we go through if you're not familiar, is our on-farm assurance program that livestock producers can participate in. And this program covers off on food safety, which is really critical because red meat is food, as well as animal welfare on-farm and biosecurity on-farm. LPA also links in really closely with the National Livestock Identification System, or the NLIS, which is all around movements and identification of livestock and as they move through their lifetime. So the LPA provides you access to national vendor declarations, or NVDs, which is how you move those livestock and provide that information around their food safety status. So tonight we're going to be focusing on a little bit of fit to load, NVDs and NLIS in particular, and how it fits together in particular as well, because ISC administers both of these programs. LPA is really important because it's accepted and required, being LPA accredited, to send your livestock through to the processors and able to market them. And it's supporting a $74.5 billion industry at this point in time. It provides that global access to all our markets overseas as well as domestically here in Australia for our own consumption. And it also ensures that we're monitoring and making really great movements in relation to biosecurity, whether that's on your own farms or biosecurity through traceability through the supply chain. Again, it has that core focus on food safety in terms of red meat being food for humans, and we really have a focus on animal welfare in the program as well. We also provide a lot of education resources and assessment kind of tools around the LPA program for producers to help them understand what's required at a baseline minimum as well. So this is the baseline program that most livestock producers in the country are in, and there are over 170,000 participants nationwide, from hobby farmers right through to the really big pastoral companies that are, commercially oriented. The program itself consists of 7 mandatory modules, which are up on screen there. As I said, we're going to focus on just 2 of these tonight, but they all relate into food safety, welfare, biosecurity, and traceability. So all of these are in the LPA standards. We talked about animal welfare and a few other things earlier in the week, so there are other webinars around about the different requirements. And next week, we're going to run through audits as well. So if you're interested in understanding what happens at an audit, we'll run through that Thursday next week. Well, we can get into the content tonight. So we're going to be looking at preparation of dispatch of livestock, which is around your fit to load requirements and transporting them off your property. So what you do just before we start that traceability kind of work, and then jumping into those traceability and transactions and movements. So starting off with fit to load requirements, or preparing our livestock for transport and making that journey. It's kind of the step before you'd be kind of, moving into that traceability realm, especially when you're dispatching livestock. So There are legal requirements around transport and making sure animals are fit to load or fit for the intended journey as well. So it's not just an LPA requirement. There's state legislation that supports this, and police look at it in terms of the road. It's everyone's responsibility. So it's a really important call out. In terms of preparing your animals, you want to make sure they make the journey, because if you're selling it to a processor or they're going to a sale yard, you want to make sure you get paid for that animal and they're not deceased on arrival. Making sure what you're doing on farm when you're mustering and assembling them is really important to make sure that they're not stressed, they have better welfare outcomes, and if you are going straight to processing, again, potentially better quality outcomes as well. Making sure you have really good relationships with your transporters, because they're legally responsible during that journey, is really important. So you're gearing them up with the right information and animals that are going to make that journey safely. There are also requirements around younger livestock, in particular bobby calves have specific requirements to make sure that they're transported safely as well. There's some key considerations in terms of fit to load or preparing livestock. So one is your facilities and equipment on your property. Making sure they're in good condition and they're fit for purpose is probably the key ones there. So if you have yards, races, gates, crushers, whatever it might be, that they're suitable, they're not going to hurt the animals, and they support the flow of what you're trying to do. We don't want livestock slipping over or falling over. It's really important to maintain that equipment before you start loading, which is just pretty common sense in terms of operations. Next is all around preparing your livestock and also considering the journey they're about to embark upon. So looking at your assembly and mustering practices, so giving them time to rest and mingle in the group that they're going to be transported in is really important to keep their stress low as well. Trying to avoid doing husbandry on them before they're transported is also good for their welfare, and doing that assessment of their fitness to load is equally important. So we don't want to be putting animals onto transport vehicles that potentially are injured, unwell, sick, etc. They may not make the journey, and then again, that's not a good thing to have on arrival. The other thing is to consider the time of green feed or like fresh pasture and water and those maximum curfew requirements. That helps with contamination. So if you've got double deckers and you've got especially cattle, effluent coming down from the top deck or overflowing and stuff, it can get very kind of messy, and it helps with the transporter not overflowing as well as what arrives at the other end. Working with your transporter is very important, and understanding the journey length, where they may be stopping, the weather conditions, and also what type, class, age of livestock that you're transporting. There's always all information around how to load correctly and the safety of all of that sort of stuff with the transporter as well. So having that good relationship is equally important. Also if there's emergencies, knowing who to contact and what to do in those situations. Now, the actual assessment of making sure animals are fit for that journey and you fit to put onto the vehicle, there's the MLA Fit to Load Guide, and this has been around for a really long time, and it's a really great resource to have. There's a simple checklist you can walk through in terms of is the animal able to bear weight on all its legs and can walk by itself, free of any injury, diseases that you can visibly see. Also that it's strong enough, it's not dehydrated, etc. There are always, exceptions to that rule if there's emergency situations or really tough conditions, and that's the only way you're going to save them. So don't think it's a hard and fast in terms of emergencies, but this is the generals. Making sure that they can walk, they're not blind in both eyes, etc. So those really clear things around that animal's welfare. If you've got stock that are really late in pregnancy or really young and travelling without their mothers in particular, you've got to consider if they're fit for transport as well. Again, that time of feed and water and knowing what's right for the animals in that time in their journey is very important. But the MLA Fit to Load Guide is a really great resource that we encourage you to get if you don't have a copy of. It's free. You can download it on the MLA website. And it explains all of the diseases and conditions and things and how to go about doing that assessment if you need those tools. If you do want to keep extra records because you love keeping records, we do have templates available around assessments of fit to load as well. So you can do it. Generally, people use their NVD, but you can keep other records as well if you want to add another layer of protection. Not mandatory, but just something we offer as a template within the LPA program. We're going to play a video. Hopefully it plays without giving you an ad, but we're going to play it, and it just gives a really good overview of some of the conditions and processes and importance of fit to load. So I'm going to hit play, and hopefully all goes well with the technology world.
The Fit to Load Guide from Meat and Livestock Australia has been developed to help you meet your legal obligations under the Australian Animal Welfare Standards for the land transport of livestock. Because it's an offence to load and transport an animal in a way that causes or is likely to cause it unnecessary harm, this guide will help you decide if an animal is fit to be loaded for transport by road or rail to anywhere in Australia.
There's not a whole lot of point bringing damaged livestock here because, as the old saying goes, one bad apple in a barrel can spoil a whole barrel. For buyers looking at penna stock and they're seeing stock that is just a substandard, they're going to make the assumption that there's more than one in that particular lot, and they'll walk on to the next pen, or that pen will be significantly discounted.
An animal is not fit to load if it's not strong enough to undertake the journey, unable to walk normally, and can't bear weight on all legs, severely emaciated or visibly dehydrated, showing visible signs of severe injury or distress, likely to be caused increased pain or distress during transport, blind in both eyes, or in late pregnancy. If an animal is unfit to load, your options include treating the animal and then transporting when recovered, consulting a veterinary surgeon, and then transporting only under veterinary advice, or humanely destroying the animal. It's the responsibility of the person in charge to ensure that animals are prepared correctly and will cope well with the entire journey. Well-prepared stock travel better, are less stressed, and associated animal welfare issues are avoided. You should plan the journey to include rest stops and inspections, and make sure the facilities, including yards, races, loading ramps and vehicles, are well constructed and will not injure livestock. Rest recently mustered livestock prior to loading and segregate animals appropriately. This includes keeping horned animals away from non-horned, or keeping mothers with their young. Once you begin the loading, handle livestock quietly and with minimum force. The maximum time off water will vary for different species and will need to be adjusted down in hot, dry weather and for the pregnant or young. For goats and cattle over 6 months old and sheep over 4 months old, the maximum time off water is 48 hours. With a minimum spell period of 36 hours. Spell time is the period of time that stock must rest with access to food and water when the maximum time off water has been reached. The maximum time off water is reduced to between 24 and 28 hours for calves, kids and lambs, or for pregnant or lactating animals, followed by a minimum spell period of 12 hours. Transporters, drivers and agents should always seek information about how long animals have been off feed and water before loading. If it's likely that the journey will take more than 24 hours, then the date and time when animals last had access to water and when they were last inspected must be recorded by the person in charge. Written information about who to contact in an emergency must also be provided. Dry feed only, such as hay, can be offered prior to loading, even if water has been withheld. Whenever food or water is on offer, make sure there's enough space for every animal to access it, as shy feeders become an issue when space is limited. Consider giving electrolytes to animals during the preparation period, as it may help prevent physical stress during the long journey. In the rare event of an accident involving heavy vehicles carrying livestock, Livestock Assist is a 24-hour national hotline to coordinate emergency responses, an important service to minimise harm to both drivers and animals if something does go wrong.
There's some great fit to load guides that the MLA's put out, and I encourage everybody to look through those. And obviously you don't want to be transporting stock that are in the late stages of pregnancy. You don't want to be transporting stock that are blind in both eyes or crippled. But it just makes great economic sense to make sure that we've got the right animal welfare outcomes.
Well, I think that's a good round out on animals preparing for transport and also fit to load. So if you do need any resources or any more information about that, we have lots on our website, and so do MLA. But we can move on tonight to the core component of our webinar, which is around livestock transactions and movement. So this is a module within the LPA program, and the core thing is that producers are responsible for ensuring livestock are traceable. And also communicate their food safety status as they move them through the supply chain as well. So you have all the information on farm about their food safety status, so their treatment history or maybe what they've been exposed to, and that information needs to be considered when completing those national vendor declarations or NVDs. Traceability is so critical to rapid tracing of our livestock. So if an emergency animal disease outbreak happened, which we hope doesn't happen, or a food safety incident, which can happen, we want to make sure that we can trace those animals really quickly from the point of when they were processed right back to the last property they were on, or back even further, to really control the impacts of those issues. And do those investigations and provide that assurance back to our customers and get market access back if that's the case. So it really protects and underpins our market access and the trust and reputation of our industry. So it's really that cornerstone. It is a legal requirement. That's how important it is. So all the states and territories have legislation that underpin identifying livestock, moving them in the NLAS database, and also completing your movement records, or the NVDs as well. So meeting your LPA requirements is also lining you up nicely to meet your legal requirements, rather than feeling like you have to do so much stuff. It's all just the same. So to break it down for you a little bit easier, the two systems that we have, NLAS and LPA, work really closely together. So as I mentioned, NVD serial numbers, the specific number on each document, actually gets recorded or can get recorded in the NLAS database for that specific transaction. So we're actually linking those two things together using property identification codes, the NVDs, and that NLAS transfer. So together, these two systems work together and work harder for our industry to provide that assurance. And the data does wonderful things that maybe you don't see every day, but it really gets used a lot in terms of how we market our animals and what we do in the background. I've broken it down in terms of the simplest way I can around NLAS and LPA requirements, but effectively I've done it in terms of introducing livestock onto your property. So when you may be bringing them onto your property for whatever reason, and then also when you're consigning them, selling them, sending them somewhere else. So first of all, introducing livestock, or you're receiving them onto your actual property. There's two things you need to remember. Receivers have to update the NLAS database within 2 days of livestock arriving at the property. So if you're receiving livestock, it's your legal responsibility to do that transfer and ensure it's happened. If you are buying from a sale yard, they will do that transfer for you, but it's always good practice to check that it's done correctly. We cannot tell you the number of times this doesn't happen, and we find it at audit, and producers will say, oh, my agent was supposed to do that, and they simply just didn't check, the agent didn't do it correctly. It's your legal responsibility as the receiver if you're buying them in or if you're getting them in. That includes rams and bulls and stud stock that you might be bringing in just for a brief period of time for a breeding cycle or something like that. You still have to do that transfer. So that's the legal responsibility there. The other side of it is around obtaining a national vendor declaration or an eNVD, paper or electronic, both equally acceptable, from the person you're getting those livestock from. So that's really important to have that document for the lifetime of the animal or for 7 years, whichever is longer. Those two things is what you need to do when you bring in livestock. So I've got some more information around some specifics and tips around that coming later, but they're the two core things that we check at audit and that are legal responsibilities as well when bringing stock onto your property. Now, Conversely, on the flip side, when you're selling livestock or you're moving them off your property, so if you're moving them you're selling them via the sale yards, you're selling direct to a processor, maybe you're selling to another producer, or they're going into a feedlot, for example, your two responsibilities are to ensure those animals are identified with an NLIS approved device. Normally that's ear tags. But that's your responsibility before they move off your property, regardless if they were born on your property or not. And then also complete that national vendor declaration for that movement. So providing that information about their food safety status, how many animals they are, what they are, etc. So they're the two things. If you're selling as well, there's no requirement to do that NLIS transfer, although you can do it. That is a function that's available, but not legally responsible. Now, National Vendor Declarations, or NVDs for short, we've got paper versions and we also have electronic versions. So you have to buy the paper books, and electronic versions are free to use. If you're LPA accredited, you can jump on and create them. You can even print them off, you can email them. They're automatically sent to the person you're sending them to. But the paper NVDs, we have one for each species or type of livestock. It's important to note and understand that you're using the correct version of these books, because they do change infrequently, but they do change. So we changed the goat one not that long ago, back in 2024. So the goat NVD is actually a different version. So if you're using an old version, it's actually not valid. So you need to be really conscious of that. Electronic NVDs are always current, so that's always a safe bet there. You have to answer every single question. It's not valid if you don't. You have to sign it. You can't answer both yes and no to both the questions, because it doesn't actually provide any information that can be useful on the other side. You're not supposed to use photocopied versions or ones that are in draft or sample ones. It's got to be a fresh version every time from that book if you're using paper. If you do do make an error or a mistake, don't use whiteout. Just simply cross it out and initial that change quite clearly on the piece of paper as well, or discard it and start again on a fresh one if it's a really big issue. If you are sending multiple consignments, so you've got some livestock going to one location, other livestock going to a different one, you need to use two separate NVDs as well. So that's multiple consignments need their own NVD. And then also specifically for cattle, if you've got HGP or hormone treated cattle and non-hormone treated cattle, you need to use separate NVDs to consign those as well, because they can't be mixed together. Paper NVDs sound like a bit of a handful. They are still commonly used and they're still accepted. But the electronic national vendor declaration system is where we're moving towards. So digital solutions are great for a couple of reasons. One, because the version's always going to be current. You can also create, your MSA decks through the eNVD system in one place. If you want to do animal health declarations, you can also do it with eNVD, and you just select that before you start the form, and you don't have to keep answering all the same questions. The documents are available instantly in the system to who you're sending it to. So it's available in the system for them to access and prepare for your animals arriving as well. You can also email it, you can print it out and give it to someone physically as well. So it really provides that ultimate fast tracing as well, because we've got real-time data on those livestock consignments moving through the system. Feedlots love it because they're obviously consigning daily and they don't have to keep spending lots of money on buying NVD books. They also make sure that they're completed correctly and in full. So they make sure all the questions get answered, and we can also really effectively audit them. So we can go in and check those before we come and do audits to make sure they're all there. They are legal and they are accepted under state legislation as well. So that's all above the board there. We also have two, platforms for it, which are all connected together. So we have our web platform, which has been around for a really long time. And then we also have a mobile app that you can use on iPads or your mobile devices as well, which can work offline in some capacity as well if you need to. So eNVDs create an NVD, so it's all electronic. Again, it is free to use. And if you haven't given it a go, don't be afraid. We have done lots of work to make it easier to use and a lot faster and better. So if you haven't tried it out or you haven't tried it out for a little while, it's always important to give it a go and see how it feels. It's a big plug, but we're very excited about it. And now we have another video. I really hope the ads don't show up again, but we'll see how we go. And this one's about eNVDs and the mobile app and sort of how that all works together. And it'll actually explain just sort of how to create one to give you that insight into how simple and straightforward it is.
The Electronic National Vendor Declaration System, eNVD, makes completing livestock consignments online fast and easy. You can complete your eNVDs on either the web-based system or the mobile app. That has a function that allows you to share consignments when not in internet coverage. Both systems work together. The eNVD website version itself is super mobile friendly, so you can begin a consignment on your desktop and easily move to tablet or mobile with or without the app, wherever you've got mobile data. These easy steps will help you get started on the eNVD web-based system. Log in to your MyMLA account, and if you've linked your LPA account, you can click straight through to eNVD. Need to set up MyMLA or link your LPA account? Both are easy one-time processes. Your eNVD homepage shows the PIC and LPA ID, a summary of any consignments moving today, your registered programs such as MSA, LPA and EU accreditation, and a table of all your consignments, past and future, which you can sort, filter and search. If you've got more than one eNVD account or PIC, select the one you want to work with up here. Now we're ready to create a consignment. To get started, click Create New Consignment. To save time, you can use a template from previous consignments, and we'll look at that later. For this demo, we'll create from scratch. First, enter the movement information. An eNVD is your vendor declaration, so only fill it in for livestock leaving your PIC, not for animals you receive. Now, do you own the livestock or do you hold them for someone else? If someone else, untick this and enter their details as the owner. Your PIC remains as the location they're moving from. If you are the owner, leave it ticked. Next, enter the destination details from the drop-down. Again, if the consignee is not the same as the destination PIC, maybe an agent, untick this and enter their details too. If the destination and new owner are one and the same, leave it ticked. Select when the livestock are being moved, date and time, up to 28 days in advance so you're prepared ahead of upcoming movements. All good? Click Next Step and select the species that will be moving. Now choose the forms you need to produce, starting with the type of NVD and additional forms applicable to this consignment. You'll only see forms that match your accreditations, and you'll only answer questions once. The system uses that info to complete all the forms. Click Next Step and complete the description section. Number of head, breed and sex. You may also include your brand by either typing, drawing using your mouse or touchscreen, or uploading. You can also enter the breakdown of NLIS ear tags versus rumen devices. For mixed consignments, add as many extra livestock descriptions as you need. Happy? Click Next. Your consignment will save automatically as you progress. You can also save a draft of your consignment manually by selecting Save Draft, allowing you to pick it up on another device or in the eNVD app, or just to pause and come back to it later. Now work your way through the livestock history, food safety and chemical treatments questions relevant to the consignment. To add supporting documents here and elsewhere, click here, enter the details, choose the file and hit Add. If a question asks for more info, provide the details as you go. The questions are exactly the same as the paper versions of the forms you ticked at the start. There's help here next to each question if you need more info. Now you complete your declaration. Check your details. They're pre-filled from your profile. When you sign, you're declaring that your livestock meet the LPA requirements and those of the other forms you're completing, such as MSA. You only need to sign once, and the signature's applied to each form. Documents like stat decks you can add here, or any you've included earlier will be there for anyone with consignment access to view, giving them everything they need for streamlined admin. And you can add any extra info here. Once you're done, click Next. It's time to add the transporter details. This is the transporter's declaration, so the transporter needs to sign it. There are a few ways this can be done. For transporters with a MyMLA registered email and an eNVD account, just enter their email here and they'll be able to open it and complete their declaration on their own device. That also means they've got their copy of the consignment. They can sign on your device. Enter their details and let them do it right here. Don't include their email if it's not registered to a MyMLA account with eNVD access. To give the transporter their copy, you should submit the consignment first, then hit View eNVD. You can download and email it, or just email as a link. If you need the transporter to complete their declaration on paper, again, submit first without their signature. Use that View eNVD button and print the PDF for them to sign. Don't get them to sign a draft. If that's what appears you've not submitted the eNVD, do that first. Make sure there's 3 copies, one for you, the transporter, and the destination. Whichever way you do it, get the transporter to complete and sign their part before they leave. After completing and submitting a consignment, you'll be taken to the consignment summary page. Here you can update certain details for a limited time after the consignment date. You can also add viewer access for anyone who needs it. They just need to have a MyMLA account registered with eNVD. Could be your agent, your business partner, anyone at all. Anyone with access to the consignment, including as a viewer, can leave comments allowing easy communication from start to finish. You can save a lot of time by reusing previous consignment details rather than starting a new one from scratch. On the eNVD home screen, find the previous consignment you want to reuse and choose Create New Template. Then, when you're starting a new consignment, use the template you've saved and change any details that differ. For a one-off repeat of consignment details, you can simply duplicate the consignment, bypassing that template function. Again, change any details that differ. If you have any questions about eNVD, please contact Integrity Systems Company Customer Service on 1800 683 111, email envd@integritysystems.com.au, or visit the Integrity Systems website, integritysystems.com.au.
Righty, so I hope that provided a good little demonstration about the eNVD system, especially on the web. Shows how easy it is to do it and how it all consolidates together nicely. But if you do have any questions around that, please let us know. And eNVD is a great tool and we really love it. But anyway, onto National Livestock Identification System, or the NLIS for short, another lovely acronym that we have. Don't try and say it too fast. It's a bit of a tongue twister. So the NLIS system combines 3 elements to give us our traceability system across Australia. So all over Australia, everyone adheres to and puts data into this system. So it consists of being able to identify every location in Australia that has livestock sitting on them, effectively. So every property that has livestock needs a property identification code, or a PIC. A PIC number is what we say for short. You also need to have all our livestock identified with an NLIS approved device, and that ensures we can identify our animals. So we've identified our properties and our animals. And the third thing is to record the movement of our identified animals through the supply chain on our identified properties. So these 3 systems work together and those movements all get recorded in the central database, which is the NLIS database. I think it's been around for something like 25 or 26 years now, which is quite a long time. It is the envy of everyone in the world. Actually, we have the global leading system in terms of traceability, and it's done an amazing job at giving us access to hundreds of export markets as well. These three things are really important, and we're just going to dive into them around what they are and why they're important. So firstly, property identification codes. These come from state governments or states, territories. Departments of Agriculture issue these to people or properties, enterprises that have livestock on their property. The state governments send us a list of all those PICs and who's authorised with those PICs into the NLIS database. So we have a list of all of the locations where livestock are going to be kept, and processes as well where they get processed. It's important because we need to know where they are, especially when we're doing tracing, especially if we need to trace in a disease outbreak, for example. PICs also form the basis of LPA accreditation, so you need to have a PIC to have LPA accreditation so we can issue NVD books specific for your PIC. So PICs are a very important part of the system. PICs are also needed so that you can get animal identification tags, which I'll talk about just next, and they are really important. So PICs can get assigned statuses if they are at risk or have specific diseases or vaccination status. So they're a really important part of identifying properties and enterprises within the system to make sure that we know where livestock are in the first instance. If you need to update your PIC details, you actually have to talk to your state Department of Agriculture, and that varies state by state who you need to talk to. We at ISC cannot update your PIC details in the NLIS database. You actually have to talk to your state department who controls that. Once you have a PIC, or if you have multiple PICs, you can then get an NLIS account and an LPA accreditation, and you can order animal identification devices or your NLIS ear tags. So animal identification, we need one tag per animal, especially only if they're electronic, one tag per animal. That's for cattle, sheep and goats. That one tag has to stay with that animal for its lifetime, and that gives us that lifetime traceability. So as they move to different properties or throughout their lifetime, we're tracing that identification number from property to property. Cattle devices are electronic, and sheep and goat devices are also electronic. We're just transitioning the end of those into electronic now. And there's two types of devices, which are breeder devices and post-breeder devices. So for cattle, our breeder devices are white in colour, so they're the white little button tags that you can see, and they get applied to animals that are born on your property. So born on your property, they get a white tag, and if you bring an animal into your property and it loses its tag, that's when you're putting on an orange tag to say that it wasn't born on your property, it's lost its tag, so we just need to pop an orange tag on. Now for sheep and goats, we can use the year of birth colours for the breeder devices, so depending on what year it is, the colour changes, and they go on to those animals that are born on your property. EID, that changes that you don't need to have the visual tag and keep applying them. It's actually just one electronic tag for its lifetime, and that stays with the animal forever. And then for sheep and goats, the post-breeder tag is pink in colour. So if you do introduce livestock onto your property frequently, it's really good to have even just 5 or 10 of those post-breeder tags to use in case you need them as well. So when you buy tags from your supplier, your rural retailer, online, wherever it is that you source them from, you need to make sure that you're ordering species-specific devices, which is specifically for sheep and goats, because they are species-specific when you order, and then they code them as such. In terms of the actual numbers on the tags, it can get a little bit confusing, but we're going to walk you through it. So electronic identification, or EID, is one term that gets used quite commonly to describe these devices. They contain a radio frequency identification number, or an RFID. I hope I haven't lost you yet. So the RFID number is the number that is encoded on the microchip inside of the device. And that you don't read it anywhere other than with a scanner or a reader. So it's electronically read. and that number is what's recorded in the NLAS database, and that identifies who manufactured it, and then a unique number to make sure that that animal is uniquely identified as well. The other number that gets associated with these devices is the NLIS ID, and that number is the one that's actually laser printed on the outside or the external part of the tag that you can actually read if you have a look at it. So that number and the RFID number actually get linked together by the manufacturer who creates that device when you order them, and they upload that full list of tag numbers to your pick in the NLAS database for you to use. So when you actually physically get the tags, you can just pop them into animals, and then they're identified, and then as they move through the chain, they'll just move off your pick as the receiver transfers them through the system. Now, the visual tag number on the outside has some special significance because it can be used as a backup tag if the tag gets damaged and electronics stop working, for example, or you don't have a reader and you want to read it by hand, which we don't recommend because it can be a bit tricky, but it is a possibility. So the first 8 characters of that number is your pick, or the pick where that tag got uploaded to, so we know its starting origin point as well. Then we have a code to identify who made it. As you can see, it's the manufacturer code that we keep specific. There's also a species code, so we know what species it should have been applied to or it was assigned as. So K is for goats, but you know there's a whole range of them, and it changes based on whether they're a breeder or a post-breeder tag. And then we have the year that they were manufactured or uploaded into the NLAS database, and then that serial number, which is also unique. So those two numbers fit together. You can visually read the bottom one and you electronically read the top one, but you can use either to do the transfer, but if you're scanning them electronically, it's best to use the RFIDs and only use the visual if you really need to in terms of something going wrong, or you don't have a scanner and you've got a friendly animal that you can hold still to read the number for. In terms of the other part, which is actually recording all of the movements in NLAS, you can obtain your list of tags that you're trying to transfer in the database. So say you're recording livestock arriving at your property, you should be scanning them on arrival to make sure you've got a full list of all of those animals arriving onto your property. You can scan them yourself if you've got a reader. Potentially you could get the list from the person who's sending you those animals, or if you really need to, you could manually read those tags. But again, we don't recommend that, can be a little bit tricky and it's error prone as well. Once you have that full list, make sure you get the NVD that those livestock came with and get it ready, because you'll need the serial number and some of the details. Next, you need to log on to the NLAS database, and through that account that you should have, you can notify the database that you want to transfer livestock onto your property, or if you're doing it, conversely, you're doing it because you're sending it somewhere else and you want to be nice, you can transfer them off. Effectively, you can then choose to upload a file with all the information in it and then just submit it, or you can manually copy and paste the tag numbers in and enter the details from the NVD into the screen and then submit it, and it submits into the database to record that movement. So we're basically moving a list of tags from one pick onto another pick with the relevant NVD details as well to get that traceability system. NLAS does send lots of emails around that confirmation, or if there are errors and things, it does tell you, and we're always available to help if you get stuck as well. I think some tips and final reminders and further information about transfers. So again, the receiver of livestock is legally responsible for recording those movements onto the pick in the NLAS database. That has to be done within 2 days of them physically arriving at the property, and that ensures we have rapid tracing for our animals. And again, if you are sending livestock, you can do that transfer to where you're sending it to, but actually it's the receiver's legal responsibility. So the function's there if you want to do it, and that'd be nice. I know some stud stock do that for some people sometimes. It's also really important to check your transfers. So if you're buying from sale yards, they will do that transfer onto your property because that's their legal responsibility. But it's always good to check to make sure that they've transferred the right animals and everything's hunky-dory within the time frame. So they do that relatively quickly. If you are buying through platforms like Auctions Plus or any online auction platforms, they don't do that transfer for you. So it's only physical public auction sale yards that will do that. So you need to do those transfers yourself if you're buying from Auctions Plus. And if you are relying on an agent or a third party or someone else to do your transfers, check it. Ask for an upload ID or a receipt to say that it happened, because if you get audited or the state government comes knocking, they will ask you for it, and if you don't have it, then you're going to have to do it. So it's really important that you check that, and that's an important thing to do, is verify and don't assume it's been done. If you don't have an account, it's really easy to register for one. You can do it online within, I don't know, about a minute as well. I think we have one more video for you, which is around just how to move livestock onto your PIC using the file upload function in the NLAS database. So this is just going to step you quickly through, I think it's a couple minutes long, around how to actually do that transfer in the database. It's our same fellow who's been narrating all of our videos tonight, but I'm going to hit play and hopefully we don't get any weird YouTube ads, but we'll go for it now.
When you purchase livestock privately, or if you've moved stock between properties with different PICs, you'll need to complete this movement on the NLIS database. This how-to demonstrates the process to transfer electronically tagged livestock onto or off a PIC by uploading a file with details after a physical movement of stock has occurred. Let's find out how to. Once logged into the database, select the species you'll be working with today and then scroll to the Notify the Database Of section and select Livestock Moved Off My Property or Livestock Moved Onto My Property. Click Go. Click Upload a File. Then click Choose File. A pop-up window will appear for you to browse the files on your computer to locate the .csv file that you've prepared with the details to be transferred. The file you have previously prepared should have 5 columns of data: the NLIS ID or the RFID details of the livestock that have been moved, the source PIC, the destination PIC, the eNVD number, and the date the stock movement occurred. Take note of the formatting, as the database will only accept information if it can be accurately read. Once you've navigated the file's location, select the file by clicking once and click Open. Now, with your file's name visible in the box, click Continue. The database provides an opportunity to check that you've uploaded the correct file. If not, click Back to upload a different file. If it's correct, then click Send to submit the information to the database. You'll receive a confirmation message on screen with an Upload ID. To ensure the transfer was received by the database, click View My Transaction History to check the status of your Upload ID is marked as complete. If another status is shown, you'll need to read the generated email for specific details of the outcome. The ISC customer service team can assist to action any warning or error outcomes. That's it. You've just moved livestock onto or off your property using the file upload method. By keeping your records up to date, you help to ensure the strength of Australia's red meat integrity system so that our industry can stand by what it sells. For more how-to guides, visit www.integritysystems.com.au.
That was a quick little demo of how simple and easy it is to do in NLIS. We do have lots of how-to guides and lots of quick little videos like that for all of the reports and functions that NLIS currently does. So if you ever get curious and want to find out more, you can go to our website and NLIS how-to guides, or we have a YouTube channel that has all those videos linked as well. If you just want to talk to one of us and help you through it, we can do that as well. We've got contact numbers and contact centre and some of the experts on the call tonight as well that can help you through it. Just a couple templates here as well. I just want to give a plug to, if you are or in need of them, you can actually keep records under your LPA around livestock purchase and records to help back up what you're doing with audits. But if you are using eNVD, you kind of reduce the need to have to do this type of record keeping, because we've got records of it digitally for you already automatically. There is another one around sales, if that's important. All of these templates, again, available for free on our LPA website. You can purchase the LPA record keeping book or download a copy of it off the website and kind of print it out or use it digitally. It's a really great tool if you're unfamiliar, you want to learn some more and figure out what kind of records you might need under the LPA as well. I think that brings me to the end of the NLIS LPA content. So I can wrap up with, I guess, 3 top takeaways for tonight, which is around making sure your livestock are fit to load before we're moving them off your property. We have animal welfare standards and guidelines around that. There's legal implications for it. It's a massive concern for community sentiment because, you know, livestock on trucks, people can see that. So really important to maintain the welfare of our animals. Also, eNVD, if you haven't given it a go or you tried it once a little while ago and you didn't like it, I really encourage you to jump on and give it a try. The web platform or the app, download it and have a go. We're constantly fixing it, updating it, making it better and easier to use. It streamlines things, it makes it easy, and there's always that option to print it if you really need that for your transporter or whomever it is. It really automates those systems and processes, and it's free to use, so there's no buying books and waiting for them in the post. And lastly, just that remembrance around identifying your livestock, buying your tags, and doing those transfers within 2 days if you're bringing them onto your property, or checking to make sure that they've been done properly. And that really underpins our market access, make sure we're traceable and can respond really rapidly if we do have any issues with food safety or disease outbreaks as well. But that's the end of me talking for tonight. I'm sure you've had enough of me by now. I'm going to hand back to Jack just to wrap us up. But thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm sure everyone found that really interesting, educational, and you've probably got some more questions on the back of everything. I know that some of you have sent through, and you can always keep sending them to us through the usual ways. Now, before we wrap up, I just want to quickly cover a couple of things that are coming up in LPA in the future. We are continuing to evolve to support producers and ensure ongoing market access for Australia's red meat industry. And one of the things I want to call out that will happen over the next 6 months is you'll see the inclusion of hormone-free assurance for exported beef to meet foreign rules and regulations. And this is something that's going to happen that will allow Aussie beef greater access to some valuable overseas markets. And in coming months, you're going to hear a lot more about that. But as I mentioned at the start, though, this is the second of 3 LPA webinars in this series. I hope those of us who joined us on Monday for animal welfare and tonight, I hope you can again join us next Thursday, the 23rd of April, where we're going to round out the series with a look at audits and accounts. You'll see on screen is the QR code that'll take you straight to the registration page, so you can get straight there if you like, and I encourage everyone to register. Now, I also want to direct your attention to our short feedback survey. You'll see it in the link in the chat box, or you can just click on the QR code on the screen at the moment. It'll only take a couple of minutes to fill out, but it really helps us guide future webinars and designing our resources to better help you to make sure that we're covering the sort of things that you want to see. So I would suggest if anyone wants to click on one of those, open it up, finish it off after we wrap this up, and your feedback is really appreciated. Don't forget, for any other questions, feel free to contact the IC customer helpline. If you have any questions, they're there to help you. Now, we'll be sending out, as I mentioned earlier in the evening, a post-webinar email that's going to have links to the recording, to a transcript, including any questions that we weren't able to answer this evening, will answer them in the transcript. And any other resources, and we've mentioned a few of them here tonight, they'll be included as well. So it'll be a nice little package that you'll see covering all 3 of these LPA sessions. So if you missed one of them, really catch up via that link and you'll have seen all 3. That's the end of this evening's presentation. So on everyone's behalf, I want to say a huge thank you to Elizabeth, once again sharing her experience and insights with everyone tonight. And thanks to the behind the scenes team. Thanks again to Natasha, Kaylin, Xander and George for making the evening a success, for contributing to put it all together for you and for answering your questions during the evening. So on behalf of all of us here at ISC, wish you the very best. Hope to see you again next Thursday. But for now, enjoy your evening.